Welcome to another episode of Follow the Brand TV. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, a 5-star personal brand and business development company. I want to take you on a journey through another deep dive into the world of personal branding and business development using compelling personal stories, business conversations, and tips to improve your brand. By listening to the Follow the Brand TV series, you will differentiate yourself from the competition and build trust with prospective clients and employers. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Make it one that will set you apart, build confidence, and reflect who you are. Building your 5-star personal brand is a great way to improve your skills and knowledge. If you have any questions for me or any of my guests, please email me at grant.mcgaugh@5starbdm.com. Now, let's begin with our next episode on the Follow the Brand TV.
Five-Star BDM, Brand Development Masters, is a professional consulting and advisory group keenly focused on business development services for the small to mid-sized business and entrepreneurs. Although every business is unique, they often share business development challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. Services include process improvement and operations, digital strategy and transformation, business intelligence, digital marketing, and personal branding. Our business and personal branding company has helped a number of professionals and organizations to optimize and grow. This results in more business, more opportunities, better reach, positive outcomes. Visit www.5starbdm.com today to learn more.
There is a moment most men never recognize until they're standing in the aftermath, wondering how they got there. Derek Jackson calls it a garden moment. The instant when your choices reveal who you really are, not just to the world, but to yourself. It's not about blame. It's about accountability. In this powerful conversation, we're confronting the silence that so many men carry. The pressure to provide, to protect, to perform, without ever stopping to ask what it's costing them. Men aren't always broken. Sometimes they're just silent, carrying burdens no one else can see. Derek names the 4 deaths that quietly hollow men out from the inside. Spiritual death, stature death, physical death, and relationship death. Each one chips away at the foundation, often unnoticed until it's almost too late. But before there was a book or a podcast, there was a room. A group of men showing up for each other, telling the truth before the crisis arrived. Brotherhood, honesty, and the courage to be real. That's where iron sharpens iron. That's where you find your own board meeting. This is where personal brand becomes personal truth. Your actions, your daily habits, your decisions, they all reveal what you really believe. The visibility of value isn't just about what you say. It's about what you do when no one is watching. For young men, the challenge isn't access anymore. It's discernment. What you feed your mind today becomes what you harvest tomorrow. Are you filling your life with distraction and comparison, or are you seeking mentorship, wisdom, and purpose? A garden moment is when the values you've been carrying finally become visible. Build them before the moment arrives. Watch the full conversation with Derek Jackson on the Follow the Brand podcast. Listen, learn, lead. Available now on all major podcast platforms. Let's build.
I want to welcome everybody to the Follow Brand podcast. This is Grant McGaugh, and I get to come back to the great state of Florida. A lot of people know that I left about a year ago as far as residency, but I still operate out of Miami, Florida. And I'm going to be talking to my good friend Derek Jackson, who's up in the Tallahassee area. He's got some really good things, and I want people to lean in, especially our men, to really lean in on what we're talking about, especially when it comes down to mental health, men's health, why men may be on the right path, or maybe they're not aligned with certain things that can actually take them to a higher level and fulfillment. So, with all that said, Derek, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Grant, for the opportunity and the platform here. And hello to all those who are listening. As mentioned, my name is Derek Jackson. I work for Automated Health Systems. I've been in the healthcare industry now for well over 30 years. My background, I have a bachelor's in health service administration from Barry University and a master's from Bethune-Cookman University, master's in organizational leadership. But why I'm on the show today, more than just a healthcare background, and I'll certainly answer those questions for you, Grant, in terms of what I do and how we operate there. But I wrote a book back in March that I got published. The title of the book is Men Dying Garden Moments, and I'll provide you, Grant, with more on that, some bio and some background about the book. The book is available on Amazon. It is also available on Barnes and Nobles, and it is in Kindle, paperback, and hardback cover for you to go out and purchase. But the reason why I wrote the book, and we'll get into more questions about it, but I've been married 30 years, and I saw a lot of relationships, men and conversations I've had with men over those 30 years, where marriages that started with us dissolved or ended, and others that are prospering. But I've always been one of those individuals that friends would come to and talk to about what's going on in their lives, their marriages, their families, and what have you. And over the years, I would take notes, jot down various things. And over time, I said, this requires deeper messaging. And so I took all of that history, my own related history, friends related history, and said, you know what, I'm going to write a book. And I've always found that the writing of the book and the stories that I interacted with brought me back to a specific term of what I call garden moments. And garden moments, like leadership, are about decisions we make that are so critical to how we live our lives that it's like that of Adam in the Garden of Eden. And in that garden moment, when Adam was faced with the proposition of Eve having made a decision and his subsequent decision as a result. That's what I mean by garden moment, is not appointing blame, but appointing accountability. And the lack of accountability is what generated me writing this book. This book is speaking to men's accountability. And I deal with it in 4 distinct phases. And it's called Men Dying Garden Moments for a reason, because I feel, Grant, that there are 4 things that we are suffering from in terms of our mental health, in terms of our being able to navigate the new dichotomy, if you will, about how things are being tracked in our society. One of those things is stature, how we are and how we stand and are reviewed. There are more women in colleges and universities than men. There are more women participating in church. There's more women participating in the workforce, or where they are participating in the workforce, there's a shift where we were the breadwinner. They're now becoming the breadwinner. And those are good things, but how men are reacting to them is what requires the adjustment. So my book talks about not only the stature and how we need to navigate. It talks about our spirituality and how we've lost our sense of being anchored in whatever that faith is. And I don't tout the fact that you have to be of a particular faith to do that. I have my specific type of faith and what I believe in. But it's really about having a faith and being anchored. So spiritual challenge, stature challenge. Then we talked about earlier, about men's health. And then it's the physical aspect of what we're dealing with, not looking at how we maintain our physical health. And when I talk about physical health, most people only think about the body, but I also think about physical health being how you physically attain and manage your lifestyle, your finances, your credit score, your bank services. Those things have a physical impact and how you're managed, and thereby also impact your stature. And then ultimately, the last thing the book deals with is relationships. We are so at odds, men and women. It's the bashing concept, men bashing women, women bashing men. There's this concept of us not being able to find a marriage together of minds. And so my book and what I try to address is man's accountability in it. Okay, this is a perfect book for Father's Day. It's a perfect book for your son, for your husband. And dare I say, it's also an opportunity for women to also get some idea and eye what it is to interact with men and how we sort of think and navigate the world. Really important book for the time. I work with a publisher out of Orlando to put this together, and I can tell you we had a great time in Orlando. Those that didn't make it, you missed an opportunity to interact, have a book signing. I'm on the road in Tampa in June. I'll be in Jacksonville, Atlanta, and doing a few things here in Tallahassee as well. So I'll pause there. I was a little long-winded in sharing my message there.
No,
Grant,
no,
but
you got it. I like how you jump into the deep end with everything. It's so important. I want people to remember that title, Men Dying, and then the Garden Moments that are
Yes.
important. I look at that. And I've seen, I've done my own research in certain areas, not just on the men aspect, just in life in general. I look at this as almost an identity crisis. What do I
Yes.
mean by that? An identity crisis. Like, how do you see yourself? And then how does the world see you? What is that gap? And to your point, are we accountable for that gap, or we take responsibility? Do we really want to see the man in the mirror and see where we really are at? You've said many men are showing up strong on the outside, but quietly breaking on the inside.
Yes.
How have you seen that reality show up in leadership, in marriage, fatherhood, or professional life?
Yeah, and that's a good question. It's at the core of what my book speaks to. And it first has to stop being the blame game,
Hmm.
right? We've got to stop saying what happened to me. And as a result of what happened to me, instead of me reacting in a leadership capacity, I act in a way that's sort of conflict or challenging to what confronted me, right? And so a lot of where we fall short is not having a core base and individuals around you. And I hate to use these cliches where people use the terms where if you want to show me who you are, show me who your friends are,
Yeah.
right? But the people you interact with matter. There
Mhm.
has to be someone around you, people developing you and growing you. And what I talk about in my book is we just organically, a group of guys, professional guys, um, just started meeting on Thursdays, just ever so often, until we got to a point that we called it the board meeting. And we
Okay.
started having meetings, had nothing to do with any initiation, had nothing to do with part of being a fraternal order of anything, although there are individuals within those realms. I mean, we'll have individuals that are presidents of universities to individuals who are janitors for a local high school, just organically come together. And sometimes we talk about the world, sometimes we talk about sports. We
Mhm.
never really set an agenda, but it's funny how over time it's you sort of navigated into this iron sharpening iron process where men are now talking and feeling comfortable. We don't want you to come in and think, because men particularly, it's hard for us to want to give up our emotions, right? It's hard
Right.
for us to want to bleed. We are silent in our pain and our suffering. And when you know that there's a safe space to have those conversations, no one's forcing you into it. It is truly men, women that show up become the squirrel and takes away the attention of the process. So we try to maintain it for that perspective of keeping it focused. And dare I say, the board meeting is what I'm trying to drive out of. Okay, after you've read this book, you found some interest in it. What are some
Yeah.
of the takeaways for us? Well,
Yeah.
find your own board meeting, find your own group of guys. And dare I say, if you don't decide to call it the board meeting, call it whatever you want. I'm not trying to brand board meeting. What I am trying to brand is recognizing your garden moments and make
Mhm.
sure you're making the right decisions when you encounter them.
Wow. Well, you said it right there. Making the right decisions. And what are you basing those decisions on? To your point about relationships, as you feed in your mind, which is more or less a small computer, right? So
Yes.
it's taking in the data, it's taking in information. So what kind of data and information are you allowing into yourself? And then what is that information that you're discerning as truth and what is not, and then making decisions on, right? It's very, very important. And I get into that world, that next letter in my world. I use a brave framework. I say you got to be brave to live in this world today. We talked about brand identity first, but then relationships is super, super important. Here in the Midwest and where I'm at now in Omaha, Nebraska, we might call that barbershop talk, right? You get into the
Yes. Yes.
barbershop. and
Yes.
you just have at it, right? Have talk about what sports, politics, whatever, community events, but you can have those conversations. But you start to find, I believe, when you do that, mentors and mentees.
Yes.
People start to like, you know what? And what I mean by that is like someone who's done something that you want to do, but is 5 years ahead. That's a great mentor for you. Learn from that individual. I think we've got away from what I call apprenticeships, right?
Yes.
Like yourself. Hey, you know somebody that's been married 5, 10 years, 15, 20, 25 years. Maybe you're on that road of your marriage and you're 2.5 years in or wherever you may be, but you now want to, you got some questions, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
the marriage it starts to change in flavor from the time that you were married or first married. You had the wedding and there was a lot of things on the table, but now you kind of learn the other person. You're in a partnership with another person, and they bring a whole set of values that sometimes works in conjunction with yourself, and sometimes not. And you need to understand that fine balance as you move forward. So I would talk to a person like Derek. I see that you're in this marriage. It looks perfect, and everybody looks perfect on the outside. It looks great, but they don't know. Like, open up the hood, and he's like, "Whoa! I didn't know you had to go through all this to get this thing down the road."
Yeah.
Especially if
Yeah.
you've been traveling a long way, like 10, 20, 30 years. So the relationships that you can form to help you on your journey, I think, is so important. Your book, I believe, helps people to do that when they're starting to say, hey, that phrase, guarded moments, I think is very powerful. But what does that mean to the average person who may read this book? And how can men recognize if they're standing right now in one of those moments?
Yeah, and very good question. And what I want folks to recall when they are in a garden moment is think about Adam's garden moment, right? Sin entered the world. At the moment not the fact that Eve had partake of the fruit, but the real change came when he did, right?
Mm,
And so I say to a man, you've got to recognize the consequence of your actions. My dad would say to me, one moment could be worth a lifetime of pain, right?
yeah,
We've all heard that. You got to
yeah,
recognize, is this a moment that's going to create life-changing effect for me? I'm married and I'm having a conversation I shouldn't have. Or I'm at the workplace and I'm at lunch and I'm as having this drink because I have a friend in town, going to impact my ability when I go back into the office. I mean, it's any number of things, right, Grant? What I'm wanting folks to think about in their garden moment is, what does that mean when something happens? I always tell people who are having challenges in their marriage, and I understand marriage is hard. I don't say that to boast on my 30 years, like I did it, you can do it. That's not the philosophy I am bringing. But I do always ask people to say, what does tomorrow look like? If
hmm
you're not doing what you're doing today with your family, what does tomorrow look like? And subsequently, what does tomorrow look like for your loved ones? Are you now prepared to be a visitor in your house or have someone visit your house? Or are you prepared to now have all of those scenarios where there's going to be certain visits or holidays, you sit on one side and someone else sits on the other side at a wedding? I mean, all of those things people don't look at, and you say, is this issue or problem we're having worth the garden moment? And there are
hmm
going to be times where it is. Sometimes you do have to turn away and do things. But the thing about a garden, right, is that gardens have seasons, right?
yeah,
Winter, spring, summer, fall. You have to plant up, take out the roots and vegetation that are killing the particular product in the garden. So
hmm
you've always want to till it. The garden's always going to have problems. It's never going to be this perfect thing. Ask any farmer that has a beautiful crop, and then they get a snow season will come in, or a cold front, and now all of the oranges are dead. Being from Florida, I'm using that analogy,
yeah,
right?
right.
So you can prepare for everything, but it's how you respond to those moments. And I continually talk about making those right decisions here in your garden moment. One of the subtitles of my book is The Hidden Crisis of Masculinity and the
Okay.
Journey Back to Life. That's also referenced here on the book, Hidden Crisis of Masculinity and the Journey Back to Life. Men have to be able to look at one another and start making decisions that aren't selfish, that aren't in the moment. You've got to recognize this is something that is so impactful to me and the people that I love. There are people who have relationships that are healthy to the community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just to themselves. And if you aren't recognizing the impact you as an individual have to the whole, then I think you're missing it in terms of your responsibility.
Oh, man. Great analogy, what you're bringing together, which brings me to that third level. I talked about your identity, your brand identity. I talked about relationship, that you're bringing all this together. That third level I always talk about is authenticity. You got to be authentic, and you're going to be found out. This is the thing, as you go along that path, your true values are going to be tested. And if you don't have what you call your core belief, what do you really believe? You can go outside and tell people you believe this and that. But in the moment of truth, you find out what you really believe.
Absolutely.
You find out the truth of it, right? Because your activity and your actions told what you really believed in.
Yes.
And therein lies the truth, right? You it's going to be discovered when we're together. I think we all carry our light and our shadows with us. But if we don't understand our authentic self and where our strengths and weaknesses lie, that's where the test comes, right? You know, and that will tell the tale of the story. You're going to find out the true self of who you are and where you're working through. And as men, we don't always, I talk, well, obviously I talk to a lot of guys all the time, and everybody is leading with, that their best face. Not most of the time they're going to lead from a point of, I really didn't know about that, or I may need some help in this area because I'm about to, and we all are on some type of obstacle course. We're all facing a new challenge on the mountain. There is nothing wrong. Just like when that quarterback comes off the field and goes talks to his coach and like, look, I don't like the way this is lining up. I need some guidance. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? And I think we've gotten away from some of those core things, like, or maybe to your point earlier, do you have a relationship in your life that you can take a timeout, go run across the field and talk to somebody about this alignment that you're facing before you make a critical decision, right? That's going to impact not only yourself, your family, potentially your community. If you can take that time out, because we're emotionally charged. Sometimes it's a moment, but hopefully you can make that time out, go talk to somebody, get a mentor like yourself. Now, when I see you, and you've written this book. Now, you told me a little bit of your origin story. You had a lot of people in your life. You had chronicalized some of these things, these notes that you've written over time, and now that kind of became the book. When people finish reading Men Die in Garden Moments, what transformation or change do you hope that they will experience, not just intellectually, but spiritually, emotionally, and relationally?
Very good question. And I'll take a little time trying to relay that, right? Because that is the core foundation of the book. I talked about those four, I call them, in the books, I call them death. It is spiritual death, stature death, physical death, and relationship death. And what I look at in those moments, they're not about dying, in the sense of you've now been, from a morbidity perspective where you're no longer with us. But men will get to a point, you say, I won't do that again. I'm done. I've thrown in the towel. You'll hear men now who don't believe in marriage anymore. I'll never marry again, or I'll never been married, but heard so much about marriage negatively that they say, I won't get married. Well, to use that as an example, as from a relationship perspective, is I want men to reflect back on the impact they have on if they're not. You were a kid. What did it mean for you to have your father in the home? Right. When you were a kid, what did it mean for you to see your mom and your dad together? If you never saw that, what impact did it have on you? And so many of us, I'll never want to be that and find themselves being that. You were talking about authenticity and being what you say you are, right? And it's hard to do those things. But if you have people around you who are supporting you there, who are guiding you there, and you get out of the blame of what happened to you, and now what is my accountability to fixing it? We love our kids so much, our kids could almost do anything, and we'll find a way to say, you know what, I still love you, and you will find a way to right that. Do we do that in all of our relationships? You're my blood, you're my kid, so maybe I give more there than I should elsewhere. Those things are important. Dare I say, in our society today, and Grant, you talk about having an IT background, everything is in a hurry. And AI has changed that and revolutionized that so much. And there are a lot of people fearful of AI. I said, but to me, a calculator is AI at its infancy, right? I'm not showing the work when I do 1 + 1. You just know I did it in the and you trust it now, and you put in 1,000,000 times 407, right? You don't check the math. You know that the number given to you is right, right? So life is going to happen. It's going to be faster. You have to evolve and be prepared for it. And there's good and bad in how all of those things transpire. But the old-fashioned philosophy about why grandma and granddad stayed together wasn't about perfection. It was about staying power. It was about two people knowing they had something bigger than themselves. It was about people recognizing at the end of the day, when my journey's over, am I going to look back and say, did I do my due diligence in trying to do the right thing? It's not always going to work out. You're not always going to hit the target, but you've always got to be striving to do it. So when someone is done reading my book, I want them to always go back to a garden moment before you make a decision. And that garden moment says, let me go to my anchor. For me, it's my Christian faith. For someone else, it may be just my upbringing. Someone else, it may be whatever spiritual religion or faith they have. Whatever that is, go back. And I hope that that anchor is a positive one, right? You would assume that the anchor, the thing that you guide and make yourself, is that. Go back to that in those decisions, because it will then define you. Okay. Yes. You can tell the world and put on whatever face you want, but I see you. One of the things that I do in my book is I weigh a lot on men, but I have 2 daughters, 31 and 32. I want the best for them. And and they're smart. One's an RNP, one has their second master's. They're doing great, and they're not married. And I say, I got married in my 20s. And I think, I'm an old school. I'm thinking, well, maybe you get married early before you build and grow those assets, right? But I know that that's different, and generationally things are changing. But I want to have an environment where my daughters are seen in a proper light by men, and men are seen in a proper light by them. And I'm always saying to them, we're unfortunately in a society now where Victoria no longer has a secret.
Right.
Right. I think of the story, and I talk about that in the book as well, is we've gotten away from the blessing of just who and what a woman is, that the access to it and what you can see is no longer a secret. And I think it's changed men, but men have an ownership in it. There's a reason why nightclubs say women in free until 10. Women get free drinks because it attracts us. Right. And what about that attraction drives us insane? We should be able to formulate ourselves in a manner of speaking that says, in order for, because what we know is what may be in there getting the free drink may not be what we want. So why do we go in? Yeah. Right. And men have to own that. And until we start owning that, we want to charge women to doing better when we're telling them it's okay to do that, and we're not giving an avenue for better. And I can take that vice versa on the side with the aspect of how women may see us. But the focus of my book is the attention on the man, making sure we understand we have responsibility. Focus on your garden moments. Know that in your spiritual growth, you need an anchor. Know that in your stature growth, you need to understand, no, I may not have the degree that I wanted, or I'm striving to get that degree. You've got to be working towards better. You've got to be working towards how do you strengthen yourself. And there is nothing wrong with being where you are, but you've always got to be wanting to do better. Right. I am, and I don't mind saying I'm 56 years old, right? And I'm on this person. If the you were talking about, I don't know if you used the term algorithm, Grant, earlier, but it's like if you have a phone today, and what you look at for more than a couple seconds becomes what is fed to you, right? You're going to start getting all of those things that are fed to you. As a 56-year-old Derek is going to be fed stuff that he would have seen differently as a 20-year-old Derek, right? And how I mature in my mind based on those things are going to matter. So I'm always conscious of wanting to try to relegate myself to being careful what I'm being fed with. And because what I'm being fed with is going to change and could impact where I am. So I can go into so many different spider.
No. You are.
The garden moment is the thing I want to leave people with.
And that is it. Because that garden moment, the way I look at that, I call that the visibility of value. That is when you make your value visible. You done your due diligence, maybe in a fraction of a second, or maybe you took some time. Maybe you got out the field, you talked to a mentor. I'm not sure. But at the moment that you make the decision, the value becomes visible.
Yes.
What is that value? And is it, high velocity? Velocity, I mean, it's going to move very quickly after you made that decision. What is the volume going to look like? All those things are very, very important. Because once it's left the barn, they say when the chicken has left the coop, all that, it's
Yes.
gone.
Yes.
You've done it now.
Yes.
Now, to your point earlier, are you accountable for that? All right, have you made the decision, whether right or wrong? You made the best decision you felt that you could make. And that is a crucial point of reference. And that is where I look at some of my gap analysis when I look at where we're at, when I look at grandfathers, fathers, sons, grandsons. Are we really handing off that experience that is necessary for that next generation to come online? You said yourself, the algorithm, you looked at certain things, you knew that the decision that you might have made at 20 is not the same decision you may have made at 56. However, if someone that was 56 were able to at least give you some information to that 20-year-old, perhaps you might have came to a different decision, right? So if your entire influence has always been like right now, what's being fed, especially to our young people, is a very low level of living, as far as I'm concerned. They're all concerned, or, really around a sexual vibe in the music is this all that is, and then you're not getting into responsible living. What does that look like? You want all the glitz, you want all the glory, but you haven't put in any of the work. And is that truly fulfilling? Because that's usually what happens at the end of the rainbow, especially you get involved with a particular individual, and then you make a decision. Like getting married is not a light decision. That means this person has more control over your life than your own mother, your own father, and anyone else.
Yes.
This person has legal control, just as much legal control of your life as you do. Very big decision to make, not something to do lightly. So if you look at their influences on the outside, like, oh yeah, it's all great. You have this great marriage and everybody's out and everybody looks like they're living, their best life and it's made their life. And you haven't done the hard work. What does this look like day after day, week after week, year after year of knowing who this person really is or the community in which you're fused? So the visibility of your values is super, super important. So I would want our young people listening to this to truly understand some of the things I just said and what Derek is talking about, because I know you're all also active in mentoring students and supporting youth organizations. My question to you is, what message from your book do you want most younger men to understand before life forces them to learn it the hard way?
Very good point. And I'll start with one word: accountability. Right? Hold yourself accountable. No matter what happens to you, what you do about it is about your accountability, right? You got to be able to say, what's my role in this? What's my responsibility in this? How can I change this? Okay, this happened to me. All right, what is the consequence of that action? And what am I going to do about it? Right? So many young people, and I was young once, right? I was what I thought was a pretty good basketball player and athlete and done those things. And, I was real hard headed and thought I knew the way. And I remember things, and along the way, my parents would tell me about how to react to certain things and say, you can't be a hothead about this, that, and the third. And as you grow, you learn and you know that. And what you hope you don't do is make a decision that becomes a decision that you cannot come back from. Right? We certainly worry about that for our kids. So I want people to understand, be accountable for what you're doing. And then, while I'm talking about my book, one of my favorite books, and I try to read a lot and try to learn and get different ideas and concepts of life. But one of my favorite books I've read here in the last few years is a book called Thank You for Being Late by Thomas L. Friedman. Thank You for Being Late. And the book centers on a man waiting for a friend for lunch, and his friend was late. And as his friend was late, he started encountering and thinking about, things in his life, and he overheard conversations. And he said, wow, that moment that allowed me to reflect changed everything about who and where I am. And that's what I mean. It goes back to accountability, but just a moment. Stop sometimes and just think and ask yourself, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Am I doing the right thing? And so young people, back when I grew up, the village raised me.
Yeah.
There are very few villages out there raising us today. When we were had our daughters, what I wanted to make sure I wanted to say, hey, have a slumber party, have your friends come over, because we wanted to, or on our periphery, see what kind of friends our daughters were hanging with, to try to gauge, okay, where are they in the hierarchy of those friends? Who's leading this? What is this young lady? What's her family, her background? You can just sort of see, without saying a word, you can sort of recognize how those relationships that influence your kids more than you are being fostered. And you go, oh, wow, these kids are smart. And you can go, it's good. But then you'll get in those scenarios where you recognize that may not be the case. And you say, you know what, if my son or daughter is going to be a friend here, I'm going to help that kid, because helping that kid is helping my son, helping my daughter, right? So we've got to find ways to get our young people in better avenues and better representation. And also, because of the accountability of us as men, you were with a young lady. You may not have planned to be with her. Maybe you felt trapped. Maybe you didn't. You got lost in the emotion, and you birthed a child with that young lady. And you now are deciding if you're going to be with her or not. And then you ultimately decide you're not. Well, so many women right now are raising single men. Okay, and dare I say, even single women. The absence of that triggers and impacts how those two individuals. Yes, single parent kids can grow to be successful. I talk about it in my book. President Barack Obama, single parent, did very well for themselves. There's countless numbers of stories out there, but there are also stories on the reverse. So be mindful of who you're interacting with, how you make decisions, make sure you are accountable, and stay focused. Read, get a mentor, get educated. Education doesn't always have to come academically. There are social skills. Then we were coming up where shop, learning how to repair a vehicle, learning how to become a plumber, an electrician. There's so many different things that we can do that's beyond sports, athletics, and music. And everything right now is fast. And if you're late, you're going to miss the party.
100% on what you just said. And the world it's a much different place. But you have a lot more advantages when you see it from my vantage point, maybe your vantage point, meaning data and information you can get in lightning speed, right? Where before you might have to go to a library to get some information, or you might have had an encyclopedia at home, or maybe you went to the school library. Now in your hand, you have access to the world's intelligence.
Yes.
That's never happened before. And you can get it customized and personalized just to yourself if there's something that you can identify that you want to know about. Remember, identify what you can know about, right? It's very, very important. Then you can start looking at the relationships, make it real. I don't want people to get away from the fact that even though you live in this digital world, the human-to-human interaction is very powerful. The machine world is just an interface. It's a platform. Me and Derek right now, it allows us to talk and bridge the gap of distance and time. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
But it does not negate feelings. It does not negate the facts that we're sharing here, and the fun that we're also having is very, very important. That gets to my last phase, which is the execution. How do you execute on these things that we've just talked about? We know that men are taught to perform. They're taught to provide. They're taught to protect, but not always to process. It's very important. I know that you hold a master's degree in organizational leadership, and you've led very complex teams and systems. When it comes to these things, how are you applying what you know as a man to define what you call authentic leadership today compared to how you were maybe when you were younger in your career? How would you answer that question?
Yeah, a very good question. Yeah, there's this old adage, it's not what you say, it's what you do, right? So we can say, tell and give people information all day long. I call it you lose your religion in the parking lot. You had a great service in church. Pastor had you all energized and ready, and you lost it before you got to the parking lot because there's not anything you're doing anything with. The doing part comes from assigning someone to you to hold you accountable. I have a personal trainer. Yeah, because I grew up as an athlete that I always had to have a coach yelling at me. Grant, I'm going to give you the reality. I won't do a push-up right now on my own. If I get up in the morning, I yawn and I take a shower and it's time for me to do a push-up, I won't do it. But the minute, and I won't do it if I go to a gym where I paid a membership to. I had to get an actual personal trainer. I had someone when I walked into the gym, no one's in there with me and him. He looks me in the eye. Let's go. Right? You got to have someone to hold you accountable. Find you a friend, find you an individual. It's your spouse, is it your best buddy? But you find someone to hold you accountable. This is what we said we're going to accomplish this week. They don't have to be large goals, right? But find someone to hold you accountable. Now, on my website, mendying.com, I have an opportunity where folks can reach out to me and communicate with me, and I can get into more of the detailed specifics of that and help point you to how you find those mentors and people to shine with you in that way. But in this audience, in the window that Grant, you're affording me to talk to people, is get someone to hold you accountable. Find that someone who's going to say, did you do this today? Did you do that yesterday? Hold you accountable. Set a goal, because I can guarantee you, if you don't set a goal, then you're gonna meet a goal. It's just not going to be the one you want. I have a goal in my finances. I have a goal in my marriage. I have a goal in how I raise my family. And although I may not attain all of those goals at every turn because life happens, I have a target, and it's important to have one.
And you got to get back on track. See, if you have a goal and you know you have a code, I call it maybe it's your code of ethics, what you do, then you can get back on track. Even though life is going to be lifing, as they say, it'll throw you for some loops. But after the storm, guess what? You should still be in the home. And if you got to rebuild it, you just rebuild it. But you get back on track. That's the whole thing, so you don't just get off your diet, you don't get off your workout plan if that's what it is, but hold yourself accountable and responsible and get the people in your life that can make a difference. I believe that your book will make that difference. This has been wonderful in our discussion. I want people to really lean in and take these things and be accountable. I gave you a little bit about my framework, which is the BRAVE framework, because I think if you're brave in what you want to do, you're courageous on your journey of life. And no matter who you are, what you do, you are on a journey. Most people will say, yeah, because you feel the challenges. And you're on an obstacle course. Maybe your high school teacher didn't tell you that, but guess what? You're on an obstacle course, and it's on a Monopoly board, and you got only 2 gallons of gas. Now you got to go get it. So that's life, right?
Yes.
That's kind of where it goes. But if you can talk to somebody that's been down that road, and I know, Derek, you have been, and I love how you framed this discussion. I want you to tell the audience again how they can get your book and how they can reach out to you.
Very good. Thanks again, Grant, for all that you've done to help me out this afternoon. Very much appreciated. Again, the title of the book is Men Dying Garden Moments, The Crisis of Masculinity and the Journey Back to Life. My website is www.mendying.com. You can email me at info@mendying.com. There's a link when you do that that'll allow you to purchase my book as well. You can also go to Amazon and order the book. Type in the search criteria Men Dying Garden Moments, and you should be able to find me there. Kindle, hardback, paperback, soon to be on audio for you as well. And it's also available on Barnes & Noble.
Awesome. I just got one last question. You've been on a lot of podcasts. You've been on a lot of stages. You talked about your book in a lot of different places. Your first time on the Follow Brand podcast. How did you like this experience?
I tell you, Grant, it's one-on-one. It's man looking a man in the eye, and we're having a upfront conversation, right? You challenge me to speak to what I say I know. You asked the right questions to get me there. Really appreciated the dialogue. I'm not saying this just to add flour to your conversation. I've really appreciated it. You also gave me the opportunity when we spoke earlier to just let me feel you out. Let me see where you are. Validate me before your show validates me, right? Those things are important. So I'm glad to be a part of this. Hope to have an opportunity to do it again. And if ever I could provide that same level of support for you, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Absolutely. And you're the kind of guest that makes the Follow Brand the #1 podcast on FeedSpot for personal branding in the world because of you are authentic. That is where the path lies, and that you're giving authentic opportunity and truth to other people that they find value in this service that you are providing, and that is what my goal is. And I would encourage your entire audience to see all the episodes of Follow Brand at 5-Star BDM. That is the number 5, that is star, STER, B for brand, D for development, Informasters.com. Again, Derek, this has been wonderful. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate you.
You're most welcome. You
All
take
right.
care of yourself.
You too.
Man, who's your favorite podcaster? Man, Grant, man. I love Grant's podcast. Well, who's Grant? I'm going to send you the link. I love Grant.
I love the interview. I've done a lot of these, and this is a great one. It's always great to talk to people who know what they're doing, and it's clear you're a great host, and you've done this many times before.
I feel great that we're having this conversation here. Met a new person in business who I previously didn't know.
It was an amazing podcast. Grant is an amazing interviewer. I learned a lot.
Really enjoyed this. Great questions, great talk track. Super appreciate you having me on. It's been a very fun episode to talk about a lot of things that I don't always get to dive into. So this has been a fantastic conversation.
I wouldn't be where I am here today, of course, not on this stage. However, not in my current business projection and my current business model without working with you.
The difference between influence and legacy, it's the platform that carries your voice. You're not visible because you lack talent. You're visible because your brand doesn't speak. I've built 5-Star BDM to change that. Most leaders have the expertise, but not the presence, the vision, but not the vehicle. Across 3 cities, one brand is helping leaders rise above the noise. Here in the heart of Omaha, strategy isn't left to chance. It's engineered with precision. In Omaha, we engineered your executive brand, AI-powered, data-driven, precise. TISA went from a local nonprofit to a national speaker in 90 days. We don't guess your brand strategy, we build it. On the shores of St. Croix, your brand takes on depth and meaning, shaped through curated retreats and legacy experiences. In St. Croix, strategy becomes soul. Our retreats don't just refine your message, they rediscover your mission. One founder rewrote his entire company story here. Funding followed 30 days later. This is where leaders remember who they were meant to be. In vibrant Miami, momentum meets amplification, transforming your voice into a movement. In Miami, your brand becomes a movement. Business development accelerators, audience building. Joy came with an old website and an outdated company name, but she left with 5,000 followers and a waiting list. This is where you scale with soul. 3 cities, 1 mission, your legacy ignited. It started with a thread. Let's pull it together. Stop blending and start leading. 5-Star BDM, where legacy is engineered, embodied, and ignited. Visit 5starbdm.com and book your brand audit today.
Hi, everyone. I just want to take a moment to sincerely thank Grant McGaugh and 5-Star BDM for the incredible work and support they provided for our inaugural Faith-Based Leadership Conference, Unmasked. Grant was instrumental in helping to bring this vision to life through exceptional digital marketing, branding, and creative design. From our sponsorship package, our event program, the flyers, and promotional materials, everything was done with excellence, professionalism, and creativity. Not only did he help us to create visibility on every social media platform for Unmasked, but he captured the heart and the vision behind this experience. His responsiveness, innovation, and commitment throughout the process helped to make a tremendous impact. If you are looking for someone who truly cares and understands branding, marketing, and how to elevate your vision, then I highly recommend Grant McGaugh and 5-Star BDM. Grant, I can't thank you enough for helping to make Unmasked such a great success. Thank you and your team, and God bless. Mwah.
I want to thank everybody for coming out here and join our center here at the Enterprise L96 and L. This is the grand opening of 5-Star BDM in Omaha, Nebraska, my hometown, and I can't wait to bring these services and healthcare, technology, and finance to all of you. Welcome to 5-Star BDM Studio. This is where we are making the Follow Brand Podcast TV series and the Follow Brand Podcast itself. This is where the magic happens. Thank you again for tuning into the Follow Brand Podcast. I am your host, Grant McGaugh. We are going to feature those who are looking to scale and grow their business to the next level in the world of healthcare, the world of technology, and finance. I want to thank you all for tuning in week by week, because this is how we grow our brand to the highest level. I want to thank each and every one of you, first of all, for taking the time to share your vision, your ideas with us at 5-Star BDM, so we can take what you have and bring it to an ideal state. We want to focus on you. Welcome to the Follow Brand Podcast. Today we're going to talk about unleashing your visibility of value. One of the biggest problems that small business owners have is that their value is not visible. We change that for everyone. Now, for 5-Star BDM, and you're looking to be a client, you're looking to scale, you're looking to move yourself to a whole nother level, this is the way you do it. First, you book an appointment with me. You get a free consultation. We're going to talk about where you're currently at in your journey. We want to understand your brand assessment. From there, we start with the BRAVE framework. And the BRAVE framework that I have patented, I have a copyright and a trademark on. We're talking about brand identity. We're talking about resilience. We're talking about authenticity. And we are talking about visibility and execution. If this rings true for you, it'll ring true for your business.
Somewhere right now, your ideal customer just scrolled past you. In the endless stream of content, your message, your story, your brand, gone in a flick of the thumb. Stop. Take a breath. This is the moment to ask, what would make them pause? What would make them care? Because in today's digital world, attention is currency, and you cannot afford to be overlooked. You built something real. You put in the work, the hours, the sleepless nights. You sacrificed, you hustled, you dreamed. But when your brand shows up online, it looks like everyone else's. In a world drowning in content, ordinary is invisible, and invisible is out of business. The truth is, no matter how great your product or service, if your story does not stand out, it will not be seen. And if it is not seen, it cannot grow. You deserve more than to blend in. You deserve to be unforgettable. At 5-Star BDM, we do not just make videos. We build brand conversion engines. Every project is a fusion of cinematic storytelling, strategic messaging, and AI-powered visuals. Every frame is engineered to stop the scroll and start a conversation. We are not here to add more noise. We are here to create impact. With over 1,000 videos produced, we have refined our process to deliver a 5 to 7 day turnaround. Unlimited revisions, because your brand deserves nothing less than perfection. This is not about making content. This is about making your brand impossible to ignore. But let us be clear, This is not for everyone. This is for the entrepreneur who knows their brand is not just a business. It is a movement waiting to be seen. It is for the visionary who refuses to settle for average. It is for the leader who wants their story told with power, clarity, and style. Do not just take our word for it. Susan said, "The video you produced for me was fabulous." Joy shared, "My brand finally looked like what I knew it was." Tisa added, "I highly recommend their work." These are not just testimonials. They are proof that when your story is told right, people notice. Your brand is who you are. Your video is what the world sees. Let us make sure those two things match. If you are ready to step out of the shadows and into the spotlight, 5-Star BDM Video Creation Services is here for you. Videos that stop the scroll. Content that converts. Visit 5starbdm.com/video creation services. This is your moment. Do not let it pass by unseen. Make your brand unforgettable.
Sarah sits confidently at her desk, her business suit crisp, her workspace immaculate. She clicks through PowerPoint slides, navigates complex Excel spreadsheets, and manages her team on Microsoft Teams. I've mastered everything. Excel, PowerPoint, Teams. I built my career on these tools. Her confidence is clear. She's a pro and she knows it. But as Sarah enters the meeting room, she notices something different. Her younger colleagues are already deep into their work. Laptops open, screens filled with unfamiliar tools. ChatGPT, Claude, Canva, automation software. These are not the programs she spent years perfecting. A team member looks up and says, "Sarah, can you review the client brief we generated with AI? It's already optimized, formatted, and pulled data from 3 sources in 10 minutes. Sarah's confidence wavers. Back at her desk, Sarah stares at her familiar Microsoft Office icons. Suddenly, they seem outdated. She watches her team solve problems at lightning speed with AI tools, while she's left doing things the old way, slower, more manual. I know every shortcut in Word, every formula in Excel, but while I was perfecting the old tools, the work itself changed. Her jaw tightens as she realizes she's falling behind. A red notification flashes in Sarah's inbox. Performance review, Q3. In the background, a layoff headline blurs across her screen. My boss wants to know why projects are taking me twice as long, why my team is delivering faster work without me, why I'm redundant. Vulnerability sets in as Sarah puts her head in her hands, the pressure mounting. Determined not to be left behind, Sarah's fingers hover over her keyboard. She searches. AI tools for business professionals. Screens flash by. AI writing assistants, prompt engineering, automation, design platforms, data analysis. The tools didn't move on. The entire profession did. And if I want to stay relevant, I need to move with it. She rolls up her sleeves, ready to learn. A time lapse shows Sarah experimenting with AI, her productivity soaring. She drafts polished work with AI assistants, impresses her team, and presents confidently to executives. Positive feedback lights up her screen. Excellent work this quarter. I'm not replacing my skills. I'm amplifying them. Microsoft taught me how to work. Artificial intelligence taught me how to think. The future isn't Microsoft or AI. It's Microsoft and AI. Don't get left behind. The professionals thriving today aren't choosing between old and new. They're mastering both. Learn the skills that matter before it's too late.
Hey everyone, it's Grant McGaw, CEO of 5-Star BDM and host of the award-winning Follow the Brand podcast and TV series, where I help you to build a 5-star brand that people will follow. My genius is personal brand development through intelligent communication and helping you achieve your business and career goals. I am a requested speaker on digital technology and brand development issues.
I want to work with you to increase the value of your current opportunities while attracting new ones. Every one of you is unique, and we all share challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. As a super connector, I work with you as an executive coach to guide you along the complicated business and career development road, providing the enhancement tools and information you need to succeed. Together, I will help you succeed in today's challenging business climate. I will evaluate and measure your progress. Best of all, I am right alongside you every step of the way. Build the brand called you. Genius is coming. Tune in for our next show or click on our website at www.5starbdm/followthebrandtv. Thank you.